So the BR changes are finally here, guys. There are some things that I still believe that are missing there, but still it is pretty cool to see some of them. So let's talk about some of my first impressions flying some of these aircraft, since the channel is a little bit more focused on aircraft, right? That got changed in BR. I will do more videos today doing these, unless we see like a whole bunch of new like stuff for dev vlogs and stuff. But at the end of the day, I really want to take this day of just taking a look on these BR changes, flying around and giving my perspective on what they feel like, so what you should expect when you are flying an aircraft, okay? So the first aircraft that we're going to fly is the Su-27, an aircraft that got decreased to 13.0, and it is pretty good, I gotta say. The aircraft itself is just a lot more usable now. It's not seeing so many up tiers. You do see your Su-27 SMs together, you know, the Su-27 and J11, right? You will see the SMs, the G11As, the F15Cs, and etc. But the 13.7s, right? But it's a lot less prominent in the matches, which means that you can do a lot of BVR. So let's get to a match and take a look on how it feels like flying right now with it. So here we are with the Su-27S, you know, the normal Su-27. You can include this with the J11 as well. And yeah, now it's a lot easier to do BVR, guys. You have to check still your match, you know, if you have lower ranks of aircraft flying around or you still have your up tiers. But still, it is a pretty easy thing to do if you know what you're doing and you have a little bit of luck of the target doesn't try to know what he's doing, basically, right? Or maybe doesn't have a proper RWR, like in the case of this target. So I fired a target at a target that it's at 55 kilometers. I cranked to the left over here, gaining speed, going down low to defend myself from upcoming missiles. I know there are missiles coming towards me. I am a very big target, and you will see the types of aircraft that we are flying. We're flying against a lot of 13.0s, 12.7s, stuff like that, right? So it means that you have a lot more chances of actually being competitive. But there are some 13.7, so I gotta be careful. But this is the normal match that you're gonna get, right? So I'm just flying very low to defend myself, trying to keep the lock on until the missile hits, and the missiles did hit. I fly low enough to be able to just be safe over here, and yeah, the first kill at 55 kilometers. So it's something that you were not really able to do before at 13.3, because you just see all the time, every single match, an up tier. You literally, all the games that you were flying against that you're flying were against, you know, top tiers, Fox 3 missiles, stuff like that, right? So now you can actually be competitive on the terms of radar missiles and stuff like that, because the R27 is an amazing missile, but of course AIM-120s, R77, stuff like that are way more reliable up close, and they're way more scary because of the Fox 3 missile, right? So I see this other target over here. We are well within range, so I fire at 27 kilometers more or less. Crank to the left again, and I just continue to maintain the lock there to make sure that we get the kill. I don't see anything. I had a little bit of a blip of an RWR ping there, but nothing too crazy. Just maintain the lock, and this is how you're gonna see a lot of the games folding, right? You can really do BVR with this thing and do well, right? The target really did well here, avoiding that missile, going inwards in the curve of the missile, and the proxy fuse just didn't work. But I fired, of course, a second one. I was making him go defensive, right? So I just had to, I mean, this is a less than 10 kilometer shot, very easy kill of an F16. So as you see, and it is an F16C. I don't know why he didn't fire an AIM-120. Maybe he's not spaded or anything. Maybe stock, but even stock you have missiles, right? I mean, I don't know. I really don't understand what he was doing, but very easy kill. But that's the weird part of about the matches right now. You see basically these matches where you see F14As at the same time as Su-27s, at the same time as a top tier AIM-120 missile coming towards you, right? So it's kind of a very, very mixed match right now. Here I kind of did a mistake. I went too aggressive, flying too high. I gave the chance to the Su-27 to shoot at me, and I eventually got him as well, but it was just a trade-off, so not very good, right? So yeah, the Su-27 is a lot more competitive, and it's kind of weird. Like it's not like the aircraft itself changed by any means. It's just that the aircraft is a lot more reliable for you to actually play with it, right? So the example here is that the Su-27 was an aircraft that every single time you had to just fly low. The aircraft wasn't really reliable for you to stay alive. If you did fly high, you could, but you were gonna get killed because the radar isn't that advanced. You cannot gimbal it too much, so you had to just kind of remain really aggressive on your flight path to maintain the lock with the R-27 and get kills. And by the time the R-27 gets there, there's a lot of Fox 3 missiles coming towards you and you're already dead, right? But now you have that chance. You have to check the match that you are, if there is so like a lot of Fox 3s, launchers and stuff like that. But in the normal matches, you are really able to do well in the BVR. That's what it changes, right? On the dogfights perspective and everything, it's pretty much the same. You're fighting kind of the same aircraft. You're fighting 4th generation aircraft, so they do turn very well and stuff. Less a little bit here and there, more a little bit here and there in the case of the F-16s, but still, it's going to be very similar. There is the odd 3rd generation jet match that you get, that you can just stomp everything, but it's a little bit more rare. Of course, we are in the beginning. I have to play a little bit more to see how the matchmaking works, depending on the hours of the day and stuff. But yeah, it's an amazing aircraft. It was okay, it was good, but now it's really competitive again, and it's where it should be with the same BR with the F-15, right? So yeah. Now we're gonna talk about the F-14s. I'm gonna fly with the F-14B over here. I probably will do a proper video only on the F-14A later. But the F-14B is an interesting one, guys, because at the same time that the Su-27 was in the middle there, it was basically just having to, not on the middle, like the Su-27 had always need to fly low, because if it did fly high, it would just get stomped every single time. The F-14 is the contrary. It was always flying high, firing its AIM-54s and stuff, but now you gotta watch out. You cannot climb as much every single match. You gotta watch out the same way as the Su-27. You have to check it out. What are the types of aircraft that you are fighting against? I would suggest using the normal 4 Sparrows, 4 AIM-9s, BR, I think, loadout. I think it's the best one out there for the majority of the players. But if you do enjoy flying high and stuff, and early matches shots and stuff, the Phoenixes are always something that you will get 1 kill here and there, right? Even in a higher BR. So let's get to the match of the F-14. And here it was a little bit more complicated, right? Because again, you have to get accustomed of fighting stuff that have Fox 3s basically. And here it was in a match that had many top tiers. And yeah, Su-27s, they will fight this. F-15As, stuff that are in 13.0 will fight this every single time. But the thing is, you just don't have the R-73s. You don't have the performance in the dogfight that an Su-27 has. So you do have to be careful. It's an aircraft that honestly should be getting the AIM-9M. It should have the AIM-9M. It doesn't make any sense, literally any sense, that this aircraft doesn't have an AIM-9M, while an F-15A has AIM-9Ms at the same BR, and even has more performance, and the Su-27 even has more missiles and better radar missiles, technically, at least in the semi-active part with the R-27, right? So it's really weird that this thing is at with no AIM-9Ms, right? But you can get kills. You just gotta be really careful on the way that you fly sometimes. I like to take, this is coming from a friend of mine that actually gave me this idea that I just completely forgot about. If you take the 4 AIM-9s, you take a lot more countermeasures, and with that, with the BOL pods and stuff, it makes a lot of difference when you are fighting so many Fox 3 launchers. So you gotta be careful. It's not, I mean, it's basically the same as the Su-27, right? You have to check it out, but there will be always at least 1 or 2 Fox 3 launchers that are fighting the 90, firing the 90s weapons, right? So you gotta be careful. But from time to time, you will get those up tiers where you're gonna get stomped if you're not careful. The aircraft really is gonna suffer. So that's why I think, of course, this is kind of an initial idea over here, but literally all the aircraft in front of me there have IRCCM missiles, IR missiles. So this thing should have the AIM-9M. You just It has to have. It doesn't make any sense that this thing doesn't have an AIM-9M. Okay? My mistake here. Kind of climbed too much. Got killed. My mistake. But still, look at the things that I'm fighting against. Other things are firing RCCM-IR missiles, Fox 3 missiles. So, kind of complicated, isn't it? You gotta be careful. Really, really careful with the F-14. So, yeah, guys, the F-14, I still believe AIM-9Ms should be coming to it. But at the same time, it is competitive enough in the down tiers and stuff. In the rank that it is good. The thing is, when it fights top tiers, which is a lot of times, just like the Su-27, it will suffer. And mainly because it doesn't have a proper IRCCM missile. But you can fight it. You know, it's not like, oh my god, why did they do this? No, it makes sense that it is in the higher BR. It's just that it needs a little bit of an addition there to help it out, right? And the last aircraft that I'm going to talk about is, in a general sense, the F16As, right? Like I said, there are many other ones. I will be doing proper videos on each of them. This is just my first impression on some of the vehicles. But yeah, the F16As, they got a decreasing BR. One of them that are included in this is the Nets. So the Nets is at 12.7 as well. So I decided to fly a little bit of the aircraft to see how it is instead of being 13.0. So it's an aircraft that you gotta be careful how you fly, and you feel like a dog catching a motorcycle. It never really gets it, but it's trying to go after it and, you know, bark at it and trying to do stuff like this. This is how the Nets feel sometimes with his aircraft, with his missiles and this BR and everything. Did I just call an F-16 a dog? It's complicated, but, you know. But the thing is, the aircraft just doesn't have the reach. What I like to call reach is normally what I like to call something that is used in an offensive environment, right? It's a type of tactic that you cannot really choose your targets. You gotta just go with the flow, basically. You gotta wait for them to get closer to you, and then you're gonna fire your Pythons and try to get kills in dogfights. But the thing is, you don't have the radar missiles to try to get those early kills in the match, and even later in the match, you just gotta brawl in and get in the middle of the furballs and get kills. And it's a type of gameplay that it's really difficult in the higher ranks, right? That's why I think the 12.7 BR fits these aircraft. I still believe that there are some aircraft out there that will need some upgrades to fight these things, like the F14A early, maybe an AIM-9L could come to that to actually make a little bit of sense. But because, see, I mean, you still fight GF17s and JF17s and stuff, J10s and stuff, but a lot less than you would before. So it's like the aircraft already had these problems before. It's just that right now they are less prominent and you can get kills a lot easier. But the thing is, you gotta be careful. You gotta check it out, the BR. It's funny how even with the decompression, we still see compression of BR. Because an Su-27 SM probably shouldn't be fighting a Nets, I don't think, right? I don't think it's really fair. Any of these 13.7s should not be fighting an F16A. It's kind of weird that we see this type of thing. But this is just due to the fact that we have a lot of compression. So at the end of the day, for all these aircraft, kind of my final verdict over here, we gotta always check the BR that you are fighting against. Because it kind of mixed everything, you know, 12.7s, 13.0s, 13.3s, and 13.7s. They're all getting the same matches, but at the same time, the 12.7s, 13.0s, and 13.3s get a lot of down tiers sometimes too, right? So at the end of the day, you gotta check it out, the BR that you are, and basically change the way that you play with each of these aircraft. The F16A nets or any F16 will be pretty much the same. You just gotta be careful, fly low at a general sense, unless you have the ADF with Sparrows and you see that you are in a lower rank fighting third generation jets. Fly low with these things. They're not gonna be very good flying high. You need to be defensive all the times, and you will not have the reach to get targets from more than 5 kilometers. So even 5 kilometers is basically too much sometimes, but for the Python. But you gotta just be careful with that. With the Su-27, it became a lot easier, but at the same time, the nets as well, the F16A, they became a lot easier to fly. It's just that they already suffered from that problem and were almost impossible to fly in certain certain BRs when it gets certain matchmakings. But now it is seeing less of that. But you still have to be careful sometimes on the BR that you fight, because you see a lot of top tiers in these matches, right? The Su-27 is pretty much the same, but it's a little bit safer. It has very good BVR missiles, very good IR missiles, amazing flight performance. It really is the aircraft now. It's pretty amazing. Really good aircraft. And the F14B, you just got to be careful as well. You know, try to be a little bit more defensive. Don't be too aggressive. If you notice some Fox 3 launchers in your team, you know, that's a way that you can see, check it out your team, see where they are and how they're playing and stuff. And then with that, you can, you know, accordingly change your type of gameplay. Okay, guys, so these are my first initial impressions of these BR changes to the highest ranks. I will be doing some other videos today talking about some other aircraft and some aircraft that should have been added to this BR change, like the Mirage 2000. What is it doing in 12.3? I have no idea. But yeah, I see you guys on the next one. Make sure to subscribe, and bye guys, see you.